Here, not quite a year later, is my response to Mr. Erb. You offered another $250 as your final offer in good faith that I was being truthful about the hours that I worked on your school's production of Rent. With all due respect, sir, I said that the original $250 represented less than half of the hours that I worked. I have email confirmations of our rehearsal times. I don't need good faith, and I don't think anyone will argue that I was never late, nor did I ever leave early. I worked 25 and a half hours, sir, at the agreed rate of between $20 and $25 per hour. So I would appreciate a check for no less than $260. This is assuming that the other check for $250 is still good, da-da-da-da-da. But the money is the least of my concerns. My main concern is defending my good name and reputation and my relationship with your school, which, since graduating from there in 1988, has always been a very positive one. Mr. Goldstein has breached contract in more ways than I can count, and he has defamed me in the 3 areas essential to my livelihood. I let the last 2 slide. Not this time, sir. I'm also concerned about your students and your school's reputation, as I have been put in a position in which I have been forced to report to the public the following horror stories. The biggest disgrace to the arts and to education that I have ever seen or could conjure up in a work of tall-tale slapstick fiction. What's going on in your school is criminal. Please take this seriously. If nothing else, I owe your school an explanation, because you say that your records show that I voluntarily left while you were relying on me to fulfill my contract. Can I please see these records, Mr. Erb? I'd like you to see mine. I urge you to think of this not just as a business manager with a headache to deal with. Is Lily Erb your daughter, sir? Usually stage managers in high school productions are interested in learning about the process of putting together a production. I think the parents of your students have the right to know what kind of unbelievably ridiculous nonsense is being put into their heads and later coming out of their mouths. These people are not tolerated in the real world of musical theater, sir. This is no reflection on Lily or any of the other students or you and Mr. Perkinson. You all have a right to believe that Larry knows what he's doing. But musical theater is not his field, sir. He is an actor with complete disrespect for music and musicians, and therefore is not welcome in the world of musical theater. I'm telling you this as a professional in this field. Larry is what is known in the world of musical theater as a problem theater person, or more commonly, a ridiculous thespian clown. And by example, he is teaching your students to be the same. In the letter that came attached to Mr. Goldstein's robbery of a paycheck, he says, I had thought we had a satisfactory conclusion of our work together. You quit, and I accepted that. I told him that what he was asking for was impossible. You had your own ideas of how the music should go, and we had irreconcilable differences. As you may recall, Mr. Goldstein listed me in the paper as the musical director. When confronted about this, he actually said, I can't believe he said this, he actually said, in our minds, that's what you were. Oh, okay. You can't have it both ways, sir. Mr. Goldstein doesn't understand the basic concept that the musical director is the one directing the musical rehearsals, the one making all the musical decisions. And my idea of how the music should go was simply that we needed to work on it. That the students had the right to have someone qualified help them learn the music, rehearse the music. Sir, that's what rehearsals are for. You may recall I mentioned that he at all times refused to allow for musical rehearsals. You did not reply to this. Not only does he not allow them, he literally denies their existence, calling them practice that I do on my own, privately, even when specifically talking about teaching the music to your students. And while he acknowledges the existence of musical directors, he obviously doesn't know what they do, as he doesn't believe rehearsals exist, and he does not acknowledge that the musical director must exist in reality, not just in his mind. Surely you must be aware that Rent is a musical production. Perhaps you are not aware of the way rehearsals are done. Certainly no one else in your school is. It's okay, that's what I'm here for. It's very simple, sir. The musician directs the musical rehearsals. The dancer/choreographer directs the dance rehearsals. And the actor directs the non-musical rehearsals. In that order. You may also not be aware that Rent is a rock opera, which means there are no non-musical scenes for Mr. Goldstein to direct. They are all musical scenes, which Mr. Goldstein is not qualified to direct. And he knows that. He refers to it in the program. What does Mr. Goldstein think a musical director does? Apparently, this is not specific to musical things. I spoke to one of your other faculty members, not a theater person, not a musician, and asked what was going on with this man, told him that he wouldn't let me do my job. The teacher said, quote, "He doesn't get it. He sets things in motion, gets people to agree to do things, and then expects them to just magically make it appear. He doesn't understand that there are steps that need to be taken to get from point A to point B. The degree to which this is true is absolutely bizarre. In musical theater, the word for these steps that need to be taken is rehearsal. In any case, the steps for any job is called work. I believe the word for getting people to agree to do things is contract. And expecting them to just snap their fingers and magically make it appear, but not allowing them to do the necessary work, is called a breach of contract. The irreconcilable differences that Larry and I had was that I was trying to get work done, to get him to acknowledge that for the students to learn the music and for me to integrate the band as he was requiring of me, that's actually not my job, that's the musical director's job, took work, that it would not just magically appear before him. He refused to allow us to do this work, even though he had no work to do. That was the irreconcilable difference. Getting him to recognize the rights of others to work. On some level, he knows we need to, as we'll see in some of his emails, but he still does not allow it. He is simply not emotionally prepared to accept the reality that others have this right. I'll have to finish this in the next segment.